Welcome, everyone. This is the Masterclass. My name is Patricknazareth. I have around 30 years of experience in teaching, and I'd like to help dispel your doubts, should you have any. Today, we look at the chapter The Necklace, written by Guy de Maupassant. Guy de Maupassant was born in the year 1850 and died in the year 1893. He was a celebrated French story writer who was a master of the short story form. He was a protege of another famous writer called Gustave Flaubert. He wrote around 300 short stories, 6 novels, and 3 travel books during his brief career. His works, characteristically defined by economy of style, efficient narration, and unexpected twist endings. He suffered from mental illness later on in life and he died at the tender age of 42. His short story writing has influenced modern short story writing worldwide, establishing techniques that are still used today: the surprise ending, psychological realism, and social critique through character studies. Sometimes in life, do you feel that you are not given what you deserve? You don't get the luxuries that you would like to have. We meet Madame Loisel. She is a pretty woman, but someone who was born into a poor family. She did not command a huge dowry, she had no hopes of marrying a rich man, and finally she settled down with a clerk in the office of the Board of Education. She was a simple lady, but she looked for the pleasures of life. When her husband came back and he looked at their meal and was happy that he had his favorite pot pie, she was wanting to have 7-course meals, wanting meals to be served by servants in elegant settings. It's not like she had a lot of friends in the wealthy circuit. It's not like she had frocks or jewels because she came from a poor background. But one could dream, could one not? She had a rich friend who was a schoolmate at the convent. She rarely went to visit her because whenever she did, she saw her lifestyle, compared it with hers, and came away unhappy. One day, her husband came to her, all excited, and handed her an envelope. It was an invitation by the minister of public instruction to a big event at their place, a ball. The husband thought the wife would be happy to get this invitation, but instead, she got more upset. Why? She looked at him and asked a very simple question: what am I supposed to wear? He realized he had not thought about this and he did not know what to do. So he said, why don't you tell me what would be the amount that you would need to buy a good dress to go for this? She mentioned a sum of 400 francs. By coincidence, it was the very amount that he had been saving up to buy a gun. He loved his wife. Hunting was of no importance to him as compared to her. So he willingly gave her those 400 francs and she went ahead and bought the dress. The day of the ball comes, and the husband notices that instead of his wife becoming happier at the thought of going, she's becoming more sad. So he asked her, what is the problem now? It turned out she had a beautiful dress, but she had no jewels to wear with it. The husband came up with an answer. Why don't you ask your friend, Madame Forestier? She would be able to help you out by loaning you some of her jewels. She took up his suggestion with happiness. She had never thought of it herself. She went over to a friend and borrowed a necklace to wear, where there was gold and jewels. She finally saw a diamond necklace. Could she borrow that? And her friend, of course, said, yes, please do take it. She was excited. She thanked her friend and rushed away. The day of the ball arrived, and Madame Loisel was a huge success. Young, pretty, well-dressed, the necklace around her neck. She danced with enthusiasm. She was happy with all the attention that she was getting. It filled her heart with happiness. Towards 4 o'clock, it was time to go home. Her husband, poor man, was waiting for her half asleep in one of the saloons. When she was ready to go, he bought out her cheap wrap, which clashed with the costume that she was wearing. He told her, wait while I get a cab. But she did not want other women, people who were at the ball, to notice how really poverty-stricken they were, to notice what she was wearing, and she rushed down the stairs. Once in the street, there was no carriage to be found, and they began to walk towards home, calling towards carriages whom they could see. Finally, they found one, got into it, shivering and cold, and reached the house. On reaching home, she removed the wrap. She wanted to see herself beautiful once more. When she did, she uttered a cry of surprise and dismay. The necklace was not around her neck. They looked everywhere they could. Was it in her dress? Was it in the folds of her wrap? But they could not find it. They realized they must have lost it, looking for a cab, or perhaps in the cab itself. They retraced their steps, but they couldn't find anything. And of course, they could not remember the number of the cab. The husband went to the police and complained. He went to the cab drivers, gave out a reward, but it could not be found. All day she waited. What would she tell her friend? Would her necklace be found? In the evening, her husband came back and said no. He told her, please write to your friend and tell her that you have broken the clasp of your necklace and that you will return it to her once you have made it. A week passed. There was no hope of them recovering the jewels. So now what were they to do? They went looking for a replacement. They found one exactly like it in a shop on the Palais Royal. What was its cost? 40,000 francs. They were able to get it relatively cheap at 36,000, but they did not have the money. They took loans at a high rate of interest. They borrowed off all their friends. Somehow or the other, they made that 36,000 francs, paid off that necklace, took it, returned it to her friend, Madame Forestier. They are now in debt. Their life has become hard. They cannot afford even the small luxuries. The maidservant is asked not to come. Who is to do the cooking, the cleaning, the marketing? It all falls upon Madame Loisel. The husband works double shifts, triple shifts. He works for as much as he can get. It takes 10 years, 10 hard years. They have lost all happiness in life. Mathilde sometimes wonders, what if she had not borrowed the necklace? What if she had been happy with what she had? She found it hard to imagine that one small mistake, just one, could change her entire life for the worse. But the debt has been paid. She is taking a walk in the Champs-Élysées and she happens to run into her friend. Her friend doesn't recognize her. Who is this old woman? So crude, her hands so rough. And she cries out in shock when she is told who she is. But why? What have you done to yourself? And Madame Loisel smiles at her and says, you remember the necklace you lent me? This is the story behind what happened. And her friend clutches both her hands, holds them in her own, and tells her, oh Mathilde, if only you had told me the truth. Turned out, the true value of the necklace, not over 500 francs. And they had given her a real necklace of 36,000 francs. Who are the characters in the story then? Matilda Loisel, a pretty young woman, married to a minor clerk. She dreams of luxury, but she is constantly dissatisfied. She is unhappy. She is vain, proud. You could call her selfish and materialistic. There is Mr. Loisel. He's a petty clerk at the Board of Education. He's content with what he has, but he loves his wife, sacrifices his own happiness, the gun he wants to buy for hunting, and he works 10 hard years to support the one foolish mistake she did. Madame Jean Forestier, Mathilde's wealthy school friend. She lends her the necklace. She is generous and trusting. She doesn't even bother inspecting the return necklace, shocked and touched by the revelation of what had happened to her friend. Other characters? The minister and Madame Georges Rampognon, the hosts of the ball, the maid who was dismissed, usurers and lenders, merchants from whom they borrow money. What are the settings in the story then? First, the time. It is the late 19th century France. It spans over 10 years. We know the ball occurs on Monday evening, January the 18th. Different places? The Loisel's apartment, modest, shabby, with worn furniture, middle class. Madame Forestier's home? A wealthy setting with jewel cases and luxury. The minister's residence? The grand venue for the ball. Paris streets, where they search for the necklace, where they look for a carriage to take them home. The Palais Royal shop, where they find a replacement necklace. Their attic rooms, cheaper lodgings that they take up after the Champs-Élysées, fashionable Paris Avenue, where the final meeting occurs. What are the literary devices that are used by the author? Irony, situational irony. The necklace Matilda Loisel assumes is so expensive is actually a poor fake. There's dramatic irony. We as readers suspect much before the ending that something is wrong over here. Matilda tries her level best to appear wealthy, but becomes genuinely poor. Foreshadowing. The dissatisfaction that Matilda has with her life hints at future disaster. Her desperate desire for luxury suggests that she will go to extremes in order to gain it. Her pride and vanity foreshadow her unwillingness to confess to her mistake. Symbolism. The necklace symbolizes false appearances, vanity, materialistic desires, and values. The fake diamonds on it? Illusion versus reality. Matilda's transformation from a young, pretty woman to an old, coarse-looking woman symbolizes the cost of vanity. Characterization? Direct. She was simple, but she was unhappy. Indirect. Actions reveal Matilda's vanity, her pride, and her dissatisfaction. Contrast. Matilda's dreams versus her reality. Her beauty at her ball versus her appearance after 10 years. Her initial pride versus her final humbling. The perceived value, 36,000 francs versus the actual 500 francs. Imagery. Vivid imaginations of Matilda Loisel's fantasies. Elegant dinner sets, shining silver, exquisite food. Her poverty, shabby walls, worn curtains. Her transformation, hair badly dressed, skirts awry, hands red. Metaphor, how small a thing will ruin or save one. The very unpredictability of life. What are the themes at play here? Vanity and pride. Excessive pride prevents confession and leads to ruin. Appearances versus reality. The fake necklace appears real,
Matilda.
appears real wealthy, but isn't. The cost of deception, lying, and pride always come at a price. Social class and materialism. Obsession with wealth and status leads to destruction. Irony of faith. Life's cruel twists. One moment changes everything. The consequences of choices that we make. One decision, borrowing the necklace, changes their entire life. That's the lesson there for you then. I do hope I have been of help. If I have, please do remember to like, subscribe, and share. Remember, there would be others who may require our help. Thank you so much for watching.